Смотрите, какой взрыв! Ё-моё! Уходим! Охренеть! Ой-ой-ой.
Сейчас еще один вон.
Угу.
Охуеть!
Это что было?
Что-то взорвалось очень сильно. Огненный шар. Так, да, надо куда-то срочно смываться, так что...
Куда?
Да не знаю куда, на дорогу опасно выезжать. Так, бери.
Держись, ложись, сейчас будет. Уйди сейчас.
Опять нахуй. Пиздец.
In other news tonight, Russia's deadliest attack on Ukraine in nearly a year. President Trump sending a direct message to Vladimir Putin, telling him, quote, Vladimir, stop. But it all comes after the U.S. proposed to Ukraine to give up the land taken by Russia since the invasion. And tonight, President Trump is now being asked, what is Russia giving up? Here's Martha Raddatz.
Tonight, Ukrainians reeling after the largest Russian attack on the country in nearly a year. Missiles and drones striking the capital, Kyiv, leaving at least a dozen dead and more than 100 wounded. An attack that prompted President Trump, whose administration is trying to broker a peace agreement, to directly call out Russia's President Vladimir Putin, writing on social media, Vladimir, stop. And then from the Oval Office,
I didn't like last night. I wasn't happy with it. And we're in the midst of talking peace, and missiles were fired.
the strikes coming just hours after Trump lashed out at Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky for rejecting the U.S. peace proposal that would prohibit NATO membership for Ukraine and would force Ukraine to give up land that Russia has seized since its invasion, in addition to giving up Crimea. Zelensky saying, "We will negotiate, we will not surrender." Today, in a meeting with NATO ally Norway, Trump was asked what concessions he is asking of Russia, the country that invaded Ukraine.
Stopping the war, stopping taking the whole country. Pretty big concession.
Certainly not a big concession in the eyes of President Zelensky, who would have to allow Russia to keep land it seized illegally. Zelensky saying there must be real pressure on Russia to stop this. Russia continues killing civilians. That means Putin is not afraid. President Trump was asked today if there was a deadline to reach a deal after his vice president said the U.S. would walk away if there was not a deal soon. Trump said he has his own deadline, and after that, he said we're going to have a much different attitude. David?
All right, Martha Raddatz in Washington for us tonight. Martha, thank you.
I do want to get you back to this breaking news that we are following involving the Russia-Ukraine war. Take a look at this video just coming in. This is from Fox News Edge, and you can see a fire burning there as a senior Russian military officer was killed by a car bomb. Russia's top criminal investigation agency releasing the information, but very limited information at that. The investigative committee said that Lieutenant General Yaroslav Mashkalik, a deputy head of the main operational department in the general staff of the Russian armed forces, was killed by an explosive device that was placed in his car just outside of Moscow. The committee did not mention any possible suspects who they believe could be responsible, but the attack does follow the killing of Lieutenant General Igor Kiryov, who died on December 17th when A bomb hidden on an electric scooter parked outside his apartment exploded as he left for his office. The Russian authorities blamed Ukraine for that killing. Again, the latest killing here, no one has been blamed. Russia has not pointed any fingers, but important to note that U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff is expected to meet today with Russia's President Vladimir Putin. It's not clear if we're going to get any sort of feed of that, but if we do, any images, any news conference, we'll bring that to you here on Live Now from Fox. But that meeting comes one day after President Trump offered rare criticism of Vladimir Putin, urging the Russian leader to, quote unquote, stop after a deadly barrage of attacks on Kyiv. That is, of course, Ukraine's capital. Quote, I am not happy with the Russian strikes on Kyiv. Not necessary and very bad timing. Vladimir, stop. 5,000 soldiers a week are dying. Let's get the peace deal done. That is the post from President Trump on his Truth Social platform. Russia struck Kyiv with an hours-long barrage of missiles and drones. At least 12 people died and 90 were injured in the deadliest assault on the city since last July. President Trump's frustration is growing as U.S.-led effort to get a peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia has not made any progress. The comments about Putin came after Trump lashed out at Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday and accused him of prolonging the, quote, killing field by refusing to surrender the Russia-occupied Crimean Peninsula as part of a possible deal. Russia illegally annexed that area in 2014. But again, we are just getting information coming in from Russia's top criminal investigation agency confirming that a senior Russian military officer has died by a car bomb. This is some of the video coming in from Fox Edge right now showing the fire burning in that vehicle. As we get more details on all of this, we will make sure to bring that to you here on Live Now from Fox.
On the outskirts of Moscow, early morning peace is shattered. A Russian general killed by a car bomb. It's the second similar attack in recent months, and the Kremlin is again blaming Ukraine.
How are you, Mr. President?
Fine, just fine, thank you.
Hours later, further attempts to secure a ceasefire. US envoy Steve Witkoff sits down with President Putin for the fourth time since February. The US is putting a time limit on brokering a peace deal.
I think Russia and Ukraine, I think they're coming along, we hope. Very fragile.
President Trump stating Kyiv must concede territory as part of any agreement. Russia illegally annexed Crimea in 2014. It's still recognised by the Western world as being part of Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky says a ceasefire should come first.
Temporarily occupied territories are just temporarily occupied, but they still belong to Ukraine.
To give up the territory, it's not fair. But for the peace, temporary peace, maybe can be solution.
In Kyiv, dozens gathered to mourn the 12 lives lost in Russia's latest attack.
12 people are confirmed dead. We did not find any more bodies under the rubble.
As the ceasefire talks drag on, the death toll continues to climb. Elias Kluwer, ABC News.
Some breaking news for you now, coming from Iran. There's been a massive explosion at a major port in the south of the country. State media says at least 406 people have been injured. These are some of the latest images coming from the scene of that explosion. A plume of smoke, as you can see, has been rising over the Rajai port. That's in the city of Bandar Abbas. Glass was reportedly shattered within several kilometres of the blast. An indication of the size and scale of it. Firefighters and the Red Crescent are at the site. Authorities are still investigating the cause of that blast. We'll, of course, monitor those developments, but for the time being, let's go to Towhid Asadi, who joins us live from Tehran. Towhid, any more details on what's happened here?
Well, actually, about 3 hours ago, there was a massive explosion that took place in Shahid Rajai port in Hormuzgan province near Bandar Abbas city of Iran. Let's say it was really massive, so strong that the let's say explosion sound was heard kilometers away from the scene. And right now, the live footage by the state TV indicates that the fire is still active and the smoke is coming out of the scene. If you just look at the statements coming from Iranian officials, the cause is not clear yet. It is reportedly said by the state TV that an explosion by a container or let's say a tank containing inflammable material has caused it, but it's still investigations. Further scrutiny is underway according to different Iranian officials. The initial report by Fars news agency was 46 people injured, but 2 hours after that, it increased by 10 times. And now the latest lines coming that we've got more than 400 people injured. And looking at the scene, the casualties are still gravely feared with respect to the intensity of the active fire there. And there are footages of nearby buildings and cars showing huge destruction. And we've got this statement, latest line from the oil companies of the country saying that the infrastructures related to the oil refinery is not touched. It continues its operation. It's not related to oil infrastructures of the country. So far, this is what we have, but still we are waiting for further updates as it's an active scene and as the fire continues.
As you say, Towhid, it is an active scene. If you do hear any more information, do let us know. Just to repeat what we are reporting, a huge explosion at Bandar Abbas, that's Iran's...